What is up, guys? This is Ride the Pine. Today I got my best friend, Cole Amundsen. How's it going?
Good. How about yourself?
It's another day in quarantine,
Staying busy, or at
unfortunately.
least trying to, right?
Yes, for sure.
Yeah.
Um, Cole, like I said, is one of my best friends. I've known him for quite a while now. I've played basketball with him for the last, what do you say, Cole? 5 years?
Yeah, playing at the gym, doing whatever we can, scraping up some
Yep,
pickup games, getting a
yep,
little heated sometimes, but it's just what happens.
yes, for sure. Um, Cole is also a senior like myself. He's very invested in the college basketball
Mhm.
scene. And how long have you been invested, Cole?
Basically, my whole life, I don't know, there's something about it. I started let's say 8 years old. I was playing at San Diego State, and next thing you know, I'm like, okay, I'll start liking college basketball. And pretty soon, I've never lost passion for it. I've always loved it. It's something that's part of my life, basically. It's awesome. Can't get rid of it. Love it. Absolutely love it.
Yeah, for sure. Cole knows everything from freshman players to senior players, as well as coaches, whether they're old or new.
Hmm.
And he even knows the individual teams' playing styles. And I think that was so unique. The first time Cole ever mentioned college basketball to me, um, I could tell right from the get go that he knew what he was talking about. He has done his research.
I thank you.
Um,
Appreciate that.
yeah. And for all of you who watch this, make sure to follow the one and only
Oh yeah, of course.
March Madness
Yep.
Twitter page. And I'll put the handle in the description below at Play for March.
Iconic. Can't miss the username. Play for March. That's it.
Yep. Let's jump right into this, Cole.
Alrighty.
Starting with our first question is how confident are you that college basketball is going to be a thing this season?
I honestly think it's too early to tell. I think we just got to base it off of the fall semester because, of course, we know college basketball starts during the fall semester. We got to see how does college football play off. What do they do with college football? Like, are they going to have fans? Are they not? I think we're going to have to mimic that. And I mean, who knows what's going to happen? I mean, I think right now it is just too early to tell. Only time will tell. But we just got to have hope. I think we can. I think we could have it, but it's too early to tell right now.
Yes, for sure. And I agree with you. It is way too
Mhm.
early to tell. Um, how do you feel the likelihood of college basketball happening if college football does not happen?
You know, then again, I don't think that's going to happen. If college football doesn't happen, you can't have college basketball happening because here's the thing: college football in the fall semester. Next thing you're going to have college basketball in the fall semester, and there is that little stretch. It's kind of like an early mid-November-ish is when college basketball starts. We still have a little bit of college football kicking in. They overlap a bit, and honestly, if there's no college football, there's going to be no college basketball.
Yes, yes, I agree with you
Yeah.
100% wholeheartedly. I personally feel, I know this is, like you said, a little too early to tell, but I think college football is definitely going to happen,
I
and
sure
I
hope.
think college basketball is going to happen as well.
That's the best hope. And I honestly, if I had to be like a predictor, I think that's the case. But then again, we don't know. But I sure hope you're right because wouldn't that be sad? No college football and then no college basketball. Oh God, that'd be bad.
It
That
really would be. And we did get a little glimmer of hope. I think it was a few days ago when they came out and said Division One NCAA can resume
yes.
practices
Yep.
in small groups for football and basketball. So that
Which is
was
really good news.
great news.
Now teams are going to start trickling in. They're going to, of course, they're not going to jump into everything fully. They're going to do things slowly. Definitely a step in the right direction, which we all love.
Yes, for sure. Um, if we do come back, like
Mhm.
I predict, how do you think this is going to affect teams and players at the college basketball level?
That's hard to tell too because here's the thing. For example, we have the NBA. These are NBA. These players they played in front of no fans or whatever. They're still making money. College basketball. These players aren't making money, so they basically have to play for pride. And a lot of these teams, they play and they feed off the energy. You go to Cameron Indoor Stadium. Energy's crazy. What's going to happen now if there's no one there? Like, how are these teams going to play? Will the underdogs now, will they end up end up having more of an advantage because there's none of that home court advantage, or will both teams play motivated, and therefore there's no sort of circumstantial factor that actually makes, like, college basketball, like the atmosphere? If there's none of that, who knows what's going to happen? But honestly, I mean, it's going to be weird to tell if that's not the case. Like, these players will have to simply play for pride with no fans. It won't be like a traditional college basketball game or college basketball experience, but it's definitely better than nothing, of course.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. I think the teams that are going to thrive off of this are definitely going to be the teams that have a coach with experience,
Yep.
And has great leadership.
Yeah, that's definitely it. Yeah.
Calipari's in there, Coach K, all those coaches, they got to be a huge factor for these teams and really let their players know that this is not going to be normal. But they have to be okay with it.
Exactly. And they have to not only prepare them for that, but like a lot of these coaches who've been through lots of things, like Calipari, he's not only has he been successful in college basketball, he was also in the NBA. Was he that successful? I don't know, not really. But here's the thing: like, all these coaches that have a lot of experience, I think if the coaches with the most experience will have a lot of mentorship that they can help these kids to navigate through this time if there is no fans. Because a lot of these old coaches, a lot of these coaches that are veteran coaches, they've been through a lot. Round of 64 exits as like a 4 seed, 3 seed, 2 seed, and the thing is, if they experience bad things, for example, like those are bad things, so to speak, if they experience some adversity, they can definitely have the experience to help themselves when the teams have to play with no fans,
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree with you. And same with the teams that are getting some senior veterans coming back.
True.
That is definitely going to be a huge thing for these teams going forward.
Those veterans are pivotal, I swear.
They are. You look at teams, that's one downfall for Calipari's teams is the one and done.
I agree.
The veterans on different teams such as Michigan State, those teams thrive for March Madness.
Yeah.
They've seen it before. They've been through the workouts. They've been through the practices. They've been on the bus rides to games. All those different types of things. Those veterans are huge.
They're leaders. They're like, for example, like these coaches, they're leaders, but they don't relate necessarily to the kids. If you have a leader that's one of your teammates, that's huge, I think, because they've experienced everything. They've been there, and they can give this advice to younger players, and they know how to get things done. And when that happens, that's why I've always thought this: veteran teams end up doing well in the tournament because they have more experience and they know how to handle things. And I think that's important when it comes to crunch time, especially in March.
Yeah, for sure. You get a lot of freshmen coming in. They're still trying to find their way. They might be great and have all the athleticism in the world.
Yeah.
Might be, number one ranked player coming out of high school. But until you step foot on that college, nobody cares if you're ranked number one. You're the same as anybody else.
Exactly. And sometimes, experience outweighs talent. Even though these young freshmen, number one ranked, number two, number three, they probably have a better ceiling than these veterans. But the thing is, the veterans have more experience. And sometimes experience in college basketball plays dividends. When you get into February, get into March, the experience is what counts.
Yeah, for sure. Basketball is not only a physical sport, it's also a mental sport. And mental is huge. If you can't control, upstairs, it's going to be hard for you to perform, physically.
Even though basketball's so fast-paced and you feel like when you're playing it, you don't think. There's so much thinking that goes involved. And even if you're like, you the thinking that you're doing through experience, and you're doing it because, like, you know how to do it and you've been around it. Like, a lot of these players, like these young players, they're raw, but they have a lot of talent, but they're raw through experience. And, like, it's all mental. And a lot of it's mental. Yeah, physical stuff, definitely, of course. But, like, the mental part is huge in the game of basketball. Huge.
Yeah, for sure. Now moving into my next question for you is, I don't know if you saw this today, but the NCAA approved the one-time transfer eligibility being adopted in January of 2021. Yeah. How do you feel about that?
I think it's great. I think if these players want to transfer, they should transfer to wherever they want to go, wherever they feel is best fit for them. Keep in mind, these aren't 16-year-old kids that are governed by the parents. These are adults, 18, 19, 20, 21-year-old people. These are adults, and they should, in my opinion, they should go where they think is right, whether that be transfer to Tulane. I don't care. If you think that's your right fit, you should not be punished and sit out a year for that, Like, coaches can do it, right? A coach can go from one team to another team without having to sit out a year. How coaches, players, of course, is different, but if a coach can do it, so can a player. And right now there's waivers, there's loopholes through the waivers. You can get a waiver player right away. Nobody understands. It's so confusing. You just got to be straightforward. If you transfer, it's either you sit out 1 year, then you can play, or you don't sit out a year. And personally, I think they shouldn't be punished and sit out a year for doing a decision that they think is best for them.
Yes, 100%. It's so hard because you might meet a coach. He might take you on a campus tour. You might hear his playing style, but it's different when you are actually put into that game style. You're put in, time and practice. You're playing against high-level teams.
Yeah.
We're both from Wisconsin, so we did see this with Kobe King. Past season. But he should not have to. He should be able to go play this year for Nebraska.
Exactly.
Without being punished.
Exactly. I mean, I agree because he's just going where he thinks is best for him. Why does he have to sit out a year for that? Like, he's an adult. He can make his own decision. And, sometimes, he's probably grew weary of Wisconsin. Who knows? It doesn't even matter what he thinks about Wisconsin. It just matters that he doesn't think it's the right fit for him. He wants to move on and do something better for himself. And if he thinks Nebraska is better for him, which, hey, it might be. Who knows? It's his opinion. He deserves to transfer there and can play right away because, why not? He's an adult. He can make that decision for himself. NCAA has no business telling him he should sit out a year.
Yes, for sure. This is kind of going into one of my business podcasts a few days ago. You got to help yourself first.
Yep, exactly.
If you can't help yourself, how are you supposed to help others?
Exactly.
And what I mean by others is your coach, your team.
Yes.
Anything along those lines, but you have to take care of yourself. You got to figure out yourself first.
Exactly. And there was this, I don't know if you heard about it, Matt Painter, the coach of Purdue, he said some harsh words towards Harms and directed toward Nojel Eastern, who both transferred from Purdue. And he said hard words saying like they're not Purdue blood, like they're not part of the Purdue program anymore. But the thing is, those very same players that Painter was, basically trashing, so to speak, those same players took him to Elite Eight and a Sweet 16. So they did good things, and they're just doing what they think is better for them. And I think we just got to respect that because people's opinions change over time. Sometimes people want a new direction, and if Matt Harms wants to play at BYU, do it. If he thinks that's best for him, it should not ever be a decision made by anyone else but the player.
Yes, I agree with you 100%, Cole. Now moving into one of the last questions I have is, who is your top 5 teams going into this season and why?
This is a very good question. I feel like this next year that we're going to have is going to be a little different than last year. I think this year we're going to have more teams. Last year, like the number 1 ranking switch, there was a lot of teams fluctuating. There was no power team. I think this year might be a little different. We'll see some teams that we saw last year that are still going to be good this year. I like Baylor. They got 4 returning players. I think Jared Butler and Makayo Teague, both those 2 players are expected to return. If they return, Baylor's number 1 team in my opinion. Villanova, another team. Who are they losing? I think they're only losing Sadiq Bey most likely. Yeah, they will be losing him. He's going to the NBA. They're going to return 4 starters. They're also going to be good. I think Villanova will be good. Gonzaga, that's another team. I think they could also compete for a top spot too. Jalen Suggs, I think he's one of the best players in this next coming class. It's just weird to think a number 5 recruit is going to Gonzaga. Normally you think of Gonzaga as teams that they recruit a bunch of guys from overseas. That's just what you think of them as. But
Jalen Suggs, the guy that went to the NBA this past year from Gonzaga?
There's been Rui Hachimura. He's from Japan. It's like all these guys from like from different countries come to Gonzaga. That's what you think of Gonzaga as. But now, next thing you know, you think of Jalen Suggs going to Gonzaga. I think it's cool. I think he's going to fit perfectly within Mark Few's system. I think with him alone puts Gonzaga at least in the top 10. But they also return that Corey Kispert, that's his name, and I think he is one of their best players too. And then Philip Perstuev, I have a hard time pronouncing their names, but those three guys, dynamic punch in Gonzaga. And then we have Iowa, Luka Garza. You can't beat him. I mean, that man is insane. I think he personally should have been the number one for the Wooden Award, but he didn't win. Obi Toppin won for the Player of the Year, but Luka Garza, he's going to come back. That man, he reminds me a lot of Frank Kaminsky, probably much better. He could score. Iowa's system that they built around him, beautiful. In Iowa, funny thing about them, 5 starters, all return. I mean, and they were good last year, but they'll be even better this year, especially with Luka Garza, because I think he's going to return. I think his name is still in the draft, but he's expected to return. I think he will return, but I haven't checked much about it, though, but I do think he will return. If not, he might have already returned. I can't officially remember, but expect him to be back. And then the last one is Michigan State. They still have Xavier Tillman, Aaron Henry, and then let's see, they have Rocket Watts still back, and then and then the Hauser, Joey Hauser. Joey Hauser's coming there from Michigan State, and I mean, I love Joey Hauser when he was at Marquette. I think that Joey has a little more upside compared to Sam. I think Sam's older, but Joey Hauser, I don't think they like playing with Marcus Howard. But Michigan State, I think, has a lot of upside. I think they will be good. They have a lot of returners. Tom Izzo, you can't beat him. As much as I have different opinions about Tom Izzo, at least I could say that he's a good coach. Probably I'll say that, sure. I'll say he's a good coach, but Michigan State will be good. And then a sleeper team, of course, is my main team, Texas Tech, because you cannot doubt Chris Beard, the best coach in all of college basketball, in my opinion. Chris Beard, Texas Tech is my sleeper team. They'll probably be in the top 15 coming in the early rankings for preseason, but I would not be surprised to see them make a deep run in March next year because Chris Beard, remarkable coach, remarkable.
Yes, for sure. As most of you guys can already hear, Cole is a magician when it comes to college basketball. He knows all the in and outs of everything.
There's something about it. It's running in my brain.
Yes, for sure.
I love it.
And this is the last question for you, Cole.
Yeah, fire away.
Who is your sleeper team and who is your sleeper player this upcoming season?
Sleeper team, I gotta go with. For some weird reason, I get a nagging feeling. I kind of like Minnesota for some reason. I think Richard Pitino, as much as he gets a hard grasp. I see a lot of shots fired at him on Twitter, but I've always thought that Minnesota was competitive. I watched them play a couple times last year. They were young, and the thing is with Minnesota is it was just weird. They would be so competitive, but the last minute, they would just falter away. And, I think if Minnesota, they're going to return Marcus Carr, which I think is one of the best point guards in the Big Ten. They're probably going to lose Daniel Oturu, probably, most likely. I think he's gone. But I think Marcus Carr will stay. And next thing you know, you have Marcus Carr running the point at Minnesota. I think now that Richard Pitino and Minnesota, both, they got a year older, got a little bit of experience, I think they will be good. Another team is Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech finished the season strong last year. Josh Pastner, he's gotten a lot of heat too. And I think the sleeper player is Michael DeVoe of Georgia Tech. Michael DeVoe, he's a floor general. He's got very good vision. He drives baseline all the time, but he can just kick right out, and that's the beauty of him. He's got good vision, good feel, and Josh Pastner can build an offense around Michael DeVoe. And Georgia Tech's not losing a lot of players either. And I think Josh Pastner can maybe see Georgia Tech in the tournament this year. And they're not serving their postseason ban because they served it this year, even though there was no postseason. So they got really lucky. And Georgia Tech and Minnesota will both be sleeper teams, and I could see them both competing for NCAA tournament bid.
Yeah, for sure. DeVoe, he definitely is going to be a stud. The only questionable part of his game that I've seen and I question is his scoring abilities consistently.
Yeah, Yeah, he's
Um,
not that. I agree. And shooting too is a little inconsistent. He gets in his head a little bit sometimes. I watched their game last year at Kentucky. He missed a couple shots, kind of got in his head a little bit. But the coaches at Georgia Tech, their main philosophy last year, they tried to emphasize on offensive individual skill development. And
yeah,
if they continue to do that again, especially with DeVoe, because Georgia Tech has the potential to be a good offensive team. A couple years ago, they were not good at offense at all. Defense was there. That's what in Georgia Tech and Josh Pastner was defense. But I think if they get DeVoe to shooting more consistent, scoring more consistent, like you said, I think they can not only be a threat on defense, but they can also be a threat on offense, which is really good. Can
yeah,
definitely
for
help them get
sure.
a bid for sure, and save Josh Pastner on the hot seat too.
Yeah, they are definitely empowering their
Yeah,
players,
that is for sure.
and that is going to be to his benefit for sure.
Uh-huh. Of course, of course.
Um, I'm really looking forward to seeing how he does this season.
Me too. Me
Um,
too. Really
See if
excited.
he's grown as a player, and that'll translate to the NBA if he ever gets his name called.
And I personally think he will.
I do too.
A highly rated recruit. Pastor did a good job at developing him. Got a lot of upside. I think there's no reason that he wouldn't get drafted. Big fan of DeVoe.
Yes, for sure. That is all we have for you guys today on Ride the Pine. Thank you, Cole, for coming up.
Thank you. Appreciate for having me. Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. And make sure you guys follow Play for March
Please
on
do.
Twitter.
Perhaps I'll follow back. Who knows?
Yes, for sure. He's very active, always posting, always retweeting. He knows his stuff. He's, like I said in the beginning, knows more about college basketball than any other person I've ever met.
Why, thank you. I appreciate it. I appreciate it.
But she'll be back tomorrow with another video for you guys. If you guys want to see anything, make sure you comment below, like, and subscribe. All that is appreciated, and have a great day, guys.